All right. So, welcome back. Today, we're going to continue with this beautiful day, beautiful recording on quit trying harder. And it's just an incredible lesson because most of us are used to just pushing through and attempting to do a lot. Like you actually start to force it, but force negates. Well, if I learned something from many of the mentors I've had is that force negates. Now, this does not take away anything from the persistence and that you have to show up and you have to try enough time. You have to know when to change and when do you actually. So in this lesson here, I'm on page 9 from U Square here by Pritchett. He talks about quit trying harder. And he kind of sums it up from the beginning of the book till now because we started with the fly story and how the fly could have changed course 10 seconds, could have escaped. Instead, the fly died on the window. The second thing we talked about the promise of something bigger, something that you can have much, much, much better results. And then we talked about a quantum leap. The school system getting us used to go to school, get a job, get paid, and then it's all systematic and it's all good, but it's not going to give you that 10-time jump, that 10 million, 100 million, right? So to do that, we have to change how we think, right? And he calls it quantum leap. And then we talked about U square. What the heck is U square? Well, that's U multiplied because we have this genie inside of us and trying to get out. Now, we know what 2 square is, we know what 10 square is, but what is U square? So today, in this chapter, we talk about quit trying harder. It's like a different way on the rules of success. So let's see what he said. So he said here, quantum leaps cannot be achieved through incremental steps or through more of the same. You've got to shift gears. You have to follow new patterns of thought and action. The rules of what works and what doesn't always change when you are trying to make a move from normal performance to U square. More of the same usually gives you more of the same. You ever hear that term? How do you get insane by expecting different results and doing the same thing? Now, if you've persisted and if you try it and you're not changing, that's where you have to think, right? So stop and think about it. Here's the way it goes. More of the same usually just gives you more of the same. That's one way to go insane, actually. Of course, if that's mainly what you're after, fine. Try a little harder and get a little bigger payoff. Try a lot harder and you can expect a lot better results. So most of us would think the average person, all of us, about average, 95% of us are, you work a couple extra hours, you get a little more pay. You work an extra day, you get a little more pay. You get another part-time job, now you have a full-time job and a part-time job, or you get 2 part-time jobs and you get a little bit more. You're trying a little bit harder. Try a lot harder and you expect a lot better results. I know that from my youngest daughter in Florida, right? She's trying harder. She's working, she's adding hours, she takes shifts, even though it's her summer. So, well, possibly, but it's definitely not a sure thing. And that's what he's talking about here. In terms of like quantum results, trying harder, he's saying is not a sure thing. Now, we're going to discuss that later on this weekend. I'm going to have an invite for you. So stick with me. Sooner or later, you're going to reach the point where you can't try any harder. It may be that your spirit flags or that your physical and mental resources are stretched to the limit. And often, well before you come to that set of circumstances, you reach the point of diminishing returns. Trying harder and harder starts producing less and less. Sometimes, in fact, intensifying your efforts produces nothing except bigger problems. And you've heard that a lot where people say, I'm maxed out, I'm tanked, I can't do anymore. And then they give up because they're trying harder. They're not getting new ideas to help them really change. You're not getting some outside of the box thinking. You cannot see the end from where you are. You can only connect the dots backwards, like Steve Jobs. As a case in point, go back to the story of the fly. See, now he goes back to the initial story in the book. That little insect could have turned away from the window 180 degrees and followed the path of the least resistance as it flew to the open door. For those who haven't heard the story of the fly, and a fly is in a room, I can tell you quickly, goes on a window and it tries to get out, through the window, but it can't. And it eventually dies on the window sill. Whereas if it had changed its path just 10 degrees, it could have gone through the front door of the room and escaped into freedom. And that's what he's talking about, this quantum leap, right? A quantum leap to freedom. 10 seconds of effortless flight would have produced total success, while hours of frustration and panic spent beating its wings against the glass, were destined to end fruitlessly in death on the dusty windowsill. And how many things in your life or in my life we've done it where we've done so much and we didn't go anywhere. And then the idea dies, and then the decision dies, and then your hope dies, and then you give up. Now, this is not an argument against self-discipline or persistence. Those are true virtues. Over a lifetime, they can make a powerful contribution to success and achievement. And in this other book, in the Think and Grow Rich, we study persistence. Like, you do have to persist. And there's ways how you can persist, and there's way that you can figure out when it's time to change. But you have to put the effort, you have to put the work. Now, this is not an argument against self-discipline or persistence. Those are true virtues. Over a lifetime, they can make a powerful contribution to success and achievement. They are fundamental to the development of your talents. It's extremely important to apply yourself diligently, and sometimes staying power is what delivers a big win. You've all heard that before. You got to stay the course. You got to stay the course. That's how you're going to get a big win. But ordinarily, you will find that trying harder produces only incremental gains, not quantum leaps. Also, keep in mind that trying harder, even a lot harder, sometimes often little more than a straight path to burnout. Attempt to succeed through more of the same, being resolute and relying on committed effort, can blind you to better pathways. So we've all seen that. You can stick it with it and you'll end up fine and you'll retire and you'll make some money. But we're talking here about the quantum leap. We're talking about the 100 times, 1,000 times of results. 10,000 is like unheard of. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, working a little bit harder, trying, being disciplined and being patient. That's cool. And that's going to get you places. But we're talking about a different way of thinking. Okay. Now, he said many people, when they try harder, they end up with the burnout, what we call total burnout. Their brain get fried, their nervous system. And then, unfortunately, sometimes they end up on medication. They end up on distress. They end up in worry, doubt, and fear, anxiety, distress, disintegration. All kind of weird stuff starts happening, and you don't want to end up there. You don't want you want to be on this side where you study, and that's why the system is based on the three things, right? Systematic study, the elite level mentorship, and accountability. So the material is here. It's scientifically proven, science and psychology, to help you really change, right? Now, the last line, and then we're going to finish up. If you want to make a quantum leap, quit thinking about trying harder. More effort isn't the answer. If you want to make a quantum leap, quit thinking about trying harder. More effort isn't the answer. So when I study this material, it's all about learning the mind. It's all about learning the creative process, learning the creative thinking process that is available, that Napoleon Hill talks about, and Andrew Carnegie, and many of the greats. And if you want to know more about that, I would love to get in touch with you. And now some of you do and some of you don't. It's all good. It's all up to you. So on a weekly basis, we do these events where we get together and talk. This weekend, on a Sunday, I'm going to extend this invite. We're going to talk more about the self-confidence formula. We're going to discuss it in detail. And we're also going to discuss some wealth and money kind of mindset, what it takes, from the book by Wallace Wallace, The Science of Getting Rich. So I encourage you to reach out. I encourage you to really think about, the thinking of what I shared with you. Go back and listen to it, and let's get you to do this, because it's easy if you get an outside perspective on it. And like I said, it's systematic study, elite level mentorship, and accountability. And this thing is going to change you forever, how you think, how you show up, how you do. I gotta tell you, I've never seen anything like this. And so this Sunday, this is the invite for you. And if you're here somewhere enjoying this, please subscribe, share it, put it on your channel. If you find somebody that's struggling, share it with them. It doesn't cost you a thing. This is not cost you a thing. This is my way to giving you what I can, right? And if I can assist you in any way, reach out. You never know who I have in my 3,000 plus CEO connections that can help you. And hopefully you'll do that. When you do good in the world, you get good back. That's how you got to push that energy. And that's how I want you to think, right? And with that, like I said, we're going to keep it nice and short and tight. And the next lesson is going to be ignore conventional approaches. Ignore conventional approaches. So that's going to be cool. All right. So hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll get on a call and see where you're at and where you're about in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you very much.